This is HR Service Unscripted.
I'm like, curveball.
All right. Well, welcome to HR Service Unscripted. Today's a special day. We have a guest. First, to introduce the panel. We have Dr. Liz,
Hello.
Nikki. I'm
Hello.
Dean. Today, back by popular demand, is our coworker, partner in crime, whatever we want to say, is Jeanie. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Hi.
Thanks.
I know. We had a fun episode last week, and we were talking, and a nice topic came up about being busy versus being effective. And so
Yes.
we asked a few people who want to jump on, and Jeannie's like, I have stories. So we're raring to go. But
Right.
after we get done with this, we have our fan favorite trainer term.
Okay.
Hopefully something juicy again today.
Sounds
Mhm.
good.
It's a good one
Sounds
today.
good.
It's a good one.
Okay. We had a good one last week too, made us all think a minute.
Oh. So do you have questions first, or do you want me just to dive in with a story?
I have a question myself. I thought we were
Okay.
talking about busy versus productive. So I feel, well, that's pretty
No, I
And
know
related
it's
to
the
that's what
same
you
thing.
busy.
said
So
here.
I
Okay.
got this title. This title came from an article I was reading. And so this was the actual article in that. And we've kind of changed it over about the last week we talked about it. Because the words pretty much mean the same thing. We've all run into someone who looks busy. Do we think they're being busy? Are they being busy? Are they being productive? Are they being effective? Who knows?
And we've also seen people who look like they're not busy, but for all we know, they're just really effective at what they do, they're very efficient, so they get done in half the time.
That's what I think of myself.
I like to think
I
we
feel
all
like
fall
I
under
do the
that.
same thing, but also like, why am I going to slog through something to stretch, the time when I have these different methods to make it a lot faster and then I can go
Right.
work on something else?
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Especially in our role as consultants. I mean, that's billable time to the client. If we could get something done in 30 minutes as opposed to an hour by using our resources, why not do that?
Of
That's saving
course.
them money.
Yeah.
And demonstrating how valuable we could be by getting things done in like half the time that they expected we could do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, what else can I do for you?
So, I think, it kind of depends on the type of job because there's going to be, I've worked for a long time now in all kinds of industries, and there's going to be different industries that have metrics or deadlines or, that sort of thing. And so sometimes it's a little easier to tell when somebody's not being productive.
Mhm.
Even though they, like say a warehouse, for example, they may be riding up and down on the forklift and, putting things up, taking things down. But at the end of the day, if they're not packaging and getting out what it is they need to get out or getting in, that's going to be reflected pretty quickly. I think where you see a lot of busy but not productive is more in your office settings because I feel like people can fake it better and they can make themselves look busy. And for me, I think a lot of times it's people, I don't want to stereotype, but they have lots of piles and things on their desks and but they also, I don't know, they tend to be they fall into kind of the same bucket. They're people are always talking to them. They're always talking to people. They're always wandering around. And but then if you ask them if, can you help me with that? I'm so busy. I'm so, they're just running around like they're with chicken with their head cut off, but you're actually never seeing them get anything done. So, anyway, that's kind of and I have stories about that. So, but go ahead and if you want to start with asking questions, that's kind of where I see it the most is office
Mhm.
work.
To play devil's advocate, though, I feel like we kind of need those people sometimes because they're like the socializers. So instead of everyone just like going to their desk and like and doing their work all day long and never looking up and saying hi, like that's kind of, I feel like those people are sometimes the glue because you're like, oh, I talked to so and so and we're coordinating on this. And they're just like a little bit more fun, like when they walk. Okay, so obviously I'm one of those people.
No, we need the socializers and we need those people that are walking around and saying hello. But those people don't fall in that same bracket because even those people, like you can tell when push comes to shove, they're getting their work done. They're
Mhm.
focused when they need to be focused. Um, for example, when I first got into HR, I was in the accounting department and doing payroll, and that's very time sensitive. Like you don't
Mhm.
mess with people's
Mhm.
payroll. You have to get things done.
Right. If you want them to
And
come to work the next day.
right, and it was for a warehouse. It was a food distribution company. And so they had just acquired a meat packing or cutting and packing plant. And so the HR person over there was always there. They were not getting their information to payroll in time for me to do their payroll.
Mhm.
And so the CFO had me go over to see what was going on,
Yeah, what's the holdup here?
and this person was busy. Like every time I'm so busy, I'm so busy. But when I started looking at what it was she was actually doing, she was busy like organizing, and I'm all for organization, but she had to print out each label in perfect font and put it on each folder, and everything had to be color coded. And so she was busy. She
Mhm.
just wasn't being productive because she wasn't busy doing the right things. So
Mhm.
I think busy also means versus productive also means prioritizing what it is that actually needs to get done. I mean, you can be busy doing a lot of things. Sometimes, I mean, now that, I'm getting close to retirement, I'm busy shopping on Amazon when I should be doing anything I do. Don't tell
I
anybody
feel like that perfectly describes someone who this woman was retiring and I took her job over. It was HR and it was very heavily payroll. And she did the same thing where like she was really intense about the labels on like the employee folders and all of that stuff. Like, and each department was color coded. And once, I mean, I tolerated it like in the 2 weeks that we overlapped while she was training me. But then once she left, I didn't buy or stick a label for the entire time I was there. I was just using a Sharpie on a folder. Like, do we really need this? First of all, I felt like it was excessive cost to the company to keep buying these labels. Also, like I've never really enjoyed printing labels, and I find it a nightmare, and I still won't do it. But like, so I didn't feel like that was a good use of time. Like maybe she did because that's how she kept track of everything, but also it wasn't like that big of a company. So you could kind of just look at someone's name and be like, oh, that's from, this guy from R&D, or that's so and so from marketing. Like you didn't have to color code it. There were like
yeah.
20 people
Well,
there.
I think the purpose of organization needs to work for you. You shouldn't have
Mm.
to work for organization, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
That's a good
Like,
point. That's
I
a
think
I
good
mean, it
point.
needs to make sense. And if you can make it pretty, I mean, I'm not against making things pretty, but I think more than anything, it needs to be practical. And
Mhm.
so the people behind you that are coming in can make sense of what it is that you're trying to organize.
I think the
So,
key is balance when it comes
yeah,
to whether it be organization, socialization. You have to balance them all out together. And if we're
absolutely.
spending too much of our time on one of those buckets, then we're diminishing our own productivity.
Yeah.
Or we don't have enough work to do and something needs to be reassessed.
Well, and I think so. Another story I have also in HR, because obviously I've worked in HR like most of my life. Um, so there was one person that they decided to bring over from procurement into the HR department. She had no knowledge of HR. She did not know what she was doing whatsoever. And we spent a significant amount of time training her on some of the basic tasks that you do in HR. And then, as with any training, like, okay, so here's the training. So now you go do it yourself. And those you go do it yourself, like never would get done. And it, and after about 6 to 8 weeks is like, what is she doing? And the thing is anytime something else, because there's fun thing, there's a lot of sort of fun things in HR. So if there was a employee activity that needed to be, represented, or need to go out and talk to people in the cafeteria, or, she was always, she just is a lot of distraction. It was a lot of distraction, and also a lot of, I'm for faking it until you make it, but you have to try and make it. And she was just fake. She was just doing the faking part really, really well. And she had like all the HR leaders, she had them pretty fooled in because she could talk the talk, but she actually wasn't getting anything done. And because I had been assigned her trainer and I was giving her some of my work wasn't getting done.
It makes you look bad as the trainer also that you're
Yeah.
ineffectively training this person.
Yeah. So she wasn't taking anything that she learned and applying it. She just wanted to do
The
the
fun stuff.
fun stuff in HR. Yeah.
Don't we all? Yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to throw parties and get birthday. Liz says no.
That's the part of HR I delegate. The fun part, like for me, the fun's the
Oh,
spreadsheets, the metrics, but the
yeah.
parties, there's a sales team for that. They'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
There's a
And I
lot of
think
people
I've
like
done
that.
all of that. I think anything that HR could probably do, I have done in the past 30 years. So,
I do like the line you brought up though about what are they doing? Every company that everyone's been into, there's always an employee or two that say, "What are they doing? What is
yeah,
their position? What is their role? Do they not
And
have a
how are they
defined
still
role?"
here if they're doing nothing?
Hmm.
right.
And there's
Right.
people that made careers of doing nothing. They've been there 20 years and they get asked daily,
Hmm.
what are you doing? What do they do? What is their role?
They serve some purpose that we cannot see at some point.
You wonder, like, yeah, why are they sticking around? And sometimes it takes fresh eyes to go in there. So
Mm.
I think it's a good idea to have like a consultant come in and do, walk arounds, assessing, asking people about their job duties, almost like a job analysis kind of, but
Mhm.
just even, identifying productivity or the lack thereof. I always think that's a good thing for companies to do periodically, because when you do that, you are going to find people that really aren't pulling their weight.
I
I
think
worked for
conversely, you also find people who have talents that you can't see,
Absolutely. Or
and they
people
are
that are
maybe
just
thinking
their
about.
head down and they're getting like so much work done.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, you find both ends of it.
Hmm.
But I know another food distribution company, because they have such a low profit margin, being productive is huge. And I've worked for three food distribution companies over the years. And so for you, they did, doing those audits, they cleaned house, like it happened a couple of times. And, realizing what exactly is this person doing? And so, yeah. So, and I think, sometimes businesses start out and there's like family members and a lot of,
Hmm.
nepotism and stuff, or,
Hmm.
friends, and then it grows, and then you realize that the people are not in the right positions.
So on
Dean,
the
I
flip
know that.
side, I used to work with this manager, and he would always come up with busy work. He came up with so much busy work that he would spread it out to departments that he wasn't even responsible for. And I would get so annoyed and be like, I don't work for you, and you're trying to give me work." But then um, lately, I realized that he was actually saving a lot of people's jobs. Like the company wasn't doing well. And he was also kind of a slimy guy, so I didn't really like him. But on the other hand, he came up with all of this work that didn't really have that much of a purpose, except for the fact that he maintained this head count. And I do think that that was a little bit ego based, but he really did like prevent the company from doing all of these layoffs. So then when there was an upswing again, we didn't have to go out and hire all these new people who didn't know the business at all. It was, we could be promoting from within people who had institutional knowledge. So it kind of made me rethink busy work, even unproductive busy work, because I'm like, well, if you're just keeping people engaged and have them doing something, some kind of vocation as they're coming into work every single day, you're kind of like putting a stop on them for just a little while, like, hang on, things are going to pick up again, and then they can get more interesting in real work. So I don't want to say that I kind of hate busy work, but I don't want to say that it's entirely ineffective only because of that reason.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I was a teacher before I was in HR, and teachers often use busy work to, make sure that the class is all caught up before you go on to the next thing, or, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, busy work can be a tool,
Mhm.
um, for sure. Even like with our ACA team,
Mhm.
like the new ones, well, actually everyone, there's a waiting period, like before clients get their stuff into you. And so, the busy work is actually relook at your training materials, be prepared for when the work comes in. So I think a lot of times when people are acting busy, but not really being productive, maybe they don't know their job, so they don't know what they're doing. It could be that they're having some personal, like if it's just
Mhm.
temporary, they could be going through something personal or medical, and they're just not able to get into their job. And all of these can be approached in a different way. And then the last one is they're just lazy. So if you do the trainer term, the lazy, I mean that you identify what they could be doing differently, but then if that it keeps up, then you term them.
Yeah.
For someone who's going through maybe something difficult, you work with them on that. Maybe give them some tools on what they could be doing differently.
Especially
And
if it's an ADA issue and
right,
the company
right.
is, covered under that.
Yeah. And then if they don't know the job again, that could potentially just be a training issue. And
Mhm.
they just need some additional training to know what they don't know.
Interesting.
Good point.
Um, so it's funny that you brought up like being a teacher and having to like keep the kids occupied while the other ones are catching up. But I don't want to diminish like employees, who they are, but I feel like that's sometimes it's helpful. But so my other question would be, do you feel it's more important for companies to encourage employees during slow periods to focus on personal enrichment, or to do what you said, go back and like really get to know your training materials, or really, dive deep into the job itself and the tasks themselves?
Um, I think it could be both. I don't think there's one right answer. I think it can depend on the situation. I mean, I know a lot of times when you have downtime, there's usually some kind of work that you don't really like to do that probably needs to get done. And so you probably should go ahead and do it. But I also think that's a really good time for both personal enrichment, but also enrichment that helps the company, which would include additional training, additional classes. So I
Mhm.
think, any of those are a good thing during slow times.
Collaborating with other
Mhm.
departments.
Collaborating with others. Yeah.
Mhm. That one I feel like is not, especially in like, because we're all remote, I feel like that's one that we don't focus on enough. And it's also awkward. And I'm not awkward socially, but I would feel awkward just to be like, Teams chatting, someone who I never speak to, and just be like, hey, we work at the same company. Let's be friendly. Like, that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely, the world has changed with remote work.
Mhm.
And I think also remote work has, I mean, it's hard. I think it's more difficult to identify when people are busy or not busy or being productive. And I think that just comes down to, are they getting the work done?
It is hard to define though, especially with like knowledge workers like us. We're not producing typically something tangible. I
Right.
mean, sometimes reports maybe. But it's very difficult, especially because we're dealing with clients. Like we're producing things for clients, but like what am I going to send my manager who doesn't even know what I'm doing with my client? And we're like, hey, I made this report for my client. Like what does she care, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's why, for a lot of companies, including ours, we've been intent on kind of creating some sort of metric database that we can at least see that people are working, that they're not playing around or whatever.
Hmm.
So,
Thanks. Well, what about the employee? Mind you, I had one of these employees years ago who was always the first person in office. And this was a production facility, so he'd be the first person in the office, give the safety huddle, then disappear for the day. No one knows where this person went, literally would not see them the rest of the day. And then you'd see the end of the night was always the last person to leave.
were they a boss? Were they a manager?
No, maybe a lead, someone who should have had a face on the floor once in a while, but they knew all the hiding places, and if you ran into them, they'd be like, "Oh, I'm doing this," and realistically, he knew they weren't.
Well,
Am I the only? I'm sure everyone's had to run into this at one
Oh,
point,
I'm
right?
thinking
Oh
of
yeah, I
someone
have a
right
couple
oh
in
now.
my head.
yeah, I think those are the times when you have to get into micromanagement and actually have them like report every hour. Like I don't know what, as if I, for example, if I was their manager, like, hey, dude, I don't know what you're doing all day. So here's what we're gonna do for the next 4 weeks.
Mhm.
Every hour, you're gonna check in with me and you're gonna tell me what it is that you've been doing the last hour. And then we're gonna do that like every hour, every 2 hours. But I think you have to put in place some micromanaging
Mhm.
to get them on track and then see if you can develop that trust. And I think being just honest with people, just like, I don't know what you're getting done.
Yeah,
I
or
don't
you're
know where
not
you
getting things
are. I
done
don't
that
know
are
what you're getting
expected.
done. I
Mhm.
appreciate that you come in early and stay late, but if I don't
Mhm.
know what you're doing, then what's the point? So,
Right.
yeah, I would turn into a micromanager in those type of situations.
Like, don't do that to your managers. Most of them don't want to micromanage,
Oh
honestly.
no, my team that I have, I had a little meeting with them and I actually told them if I have to micromanage you, I don't
Mhm.
really need you here.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the importance of having clear expectations because a lot of times people show up because they're there, they want to be available, they want to be present. But if they're not producing anything, maybe they just don't know what to produce. So it's important to have those honest conversations. Like these are the expectations. And if, like Jeannie said, if they're not getting it done, have that conversation. I don't know what you're doing. Where's your work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like as a leader, I've been pretty honest when I have problematic employees.
Mhm.
And then as an HR consultant, so consulting with leaders, as the HR person, I tell them to do the same thing. I recommend that they do the same thing. They think it's like a hard conversation, like, oh, this is such a difficult conversation.
Mhm.
But what's the alternative? Like, are you just gonna let them keep doing this?
Like let the resentment build. If I
Yeah,
feel like if they come from a place of curiosity, it's not as bad.
yeah,
I'm noticing this.
yeah,
Talk me through it. And then if you don't like the answer, then you can then let your resentment build. But
yeah,
otherwise, if you're not even going to have the conversation, and you know what? If the employee flies off the handle because you've questioned them about it, that's an answer for you.
absolutely, absolutely.
We did talk about tough conversations a few episodes ago, and it was very interesting. And if you can't talk to your employees now, it's going to be even a tougher conversation later. So I
Right.
don't understand when managers are
Mhm.
scared to talk to their employees. It's like, okay, this is your role. Do you not want your role? I know a lot of people want the title and the pay. They just don't want to, yeah, they don't
And
want to finish with their jobs.
what about the liability of you're letting this fester for 6 months and then you bring it up and then the employee says, well, why didn't you ask me when this started 6 months ago? And then the judge is going to say, why didn't you ask them when it started 6 months ago? Like it's true.
And the
Exactly.
resources the company's wasting in allowing that behavior. I mean, that's pay for work that's not getting done.
And the other
Yeah.
employees seeing it who have nefarious intentions.
Yeah, exactly.
So that story, one of the ones at the first, where the gal was coming into HR without any HR background, I provided the leadership examples and what was going on, or more specifically, what wasn't going on. And I don't know, sometimes you just don't get it. Like, anyway, they kept her on for another year, I think,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
to try her out. And I mean, like, they spent quite a bit of money to send her to a SHRM conference, which those are, pretty pricey
Yeah.
anymore. And and the people that have been in HR for a long time, none of us got to go to that.
Oh, wow.
But and that's not really a training ground. But they thought that would be good for her to learn HR. But ultimately, she did get let go. I mean, they realized that
Did they
yeah.
backfill the procurement role, or like why? I don't understand. I
Yeah,
don't really
well,
see
the reason that they moved her, she was just a very well liked employee. And I didn't know this, but she had already been moved out, I think, of marketing. So she went from marketing to
Mhm.
procurement, and procurement to HR.
Mhm.
And sometimes you don't know all the backstories. And I'm
Mhm.
sure there was a backstory with this, but she was very well liked by upper leadership. And they, instead of like addressing performance concerns, they just kept
Mhm.
moving her from department to department, and she was not being successful.
You
And
don't have to answer this, but I do have an inappropriate question. Was she physically attractive?
very much.
It's like,
So they just kept
I know
throwing a
that.
dart at the board to see where she would stick. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Could she been
Yeah,
here? Could she been
she
here?
was, and I left. I left that company. Um,
Because
and
of how it was run.
yeah, I was not
Mhm.
happy.
I mean,
Well,
in
I
fairness,
actually,
that's not the, oh, I've seen it at so many companies where physically attractive people definitely get more allowances than,
yeah,
and I'm not saying like a normal looking person compared to like really stunning people. I don't
yeah.
know, for some reason you just want to keep them around. I'm a sucker for a pretty face. I get it.
Well, and I actually talked to her about my feelings of how she was doing. So she knew how I felt.
Mhm.
And that just wasn't a very conducive work environment after that um situation. So
Oh, it didn't help the
yeah.
relationship. Mhm.
So I mean, I know the audience doesn't know me, but you guys know me. And like I just, yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Yeah,
Which is
And if you're
good.
not doing any work and it's affecting me personally,
yeah.
like my job, then I have a
I have
problem with that.
a problem with you for sure.
No, and
That's one
that's
of my
fair.
favorite things about you. So where I just wanted to hit one more point, like before we move on to the next segment. Where do we think neurodivergence fits into this?
Um, so I think so when I gave you those three examples and I
Mhm.
said the one in the middle was like maybe there's something personal going on or medical going on. I think that's where that neurodivergent can fall into that, and they're not. Um, and so I think we need to dig in. It's kind of
Mhm.
like an ADA, going back to an interactive process and finding out what it is that they know. So making sure that they know their job, know the expectations, and then identify what it is that can help them um, work, do their work efficiently.
Mhm.
So I think you have to spend a little more time in helping them so that they're not just fidgeting or being busy and not getting anything done. But I think definitely you can work with people that have neurodivergent
Mhm.
and that are neurodivergent. I can't talk neurodivergent and still help them be successful in their jobs.
And
And
I like
also
how you
give them
brought
the
that
right.
up.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Yeah, I like how you brought that up because like 35 years ago when I jumped into the work industry, that term wasn't around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So no one knew what any of that was up until it's been, what, last 5, maybe 10 years. It's finally come around and you're looking at people differently.
Yeah.
Before they may have just been a problem and people were looking, how do we get rid of this person right off the bat without getting into too much trouble?
And not
That's
Yeah.
to
why
sound
those
like a
conversations are
corporate.
so important, because in having those tougher conversations, you could find out the root cause and, like, is this somebody who is legitimately trying and just having a hard time? Or what type of accommodation can I apply to help them be successful in their role?
Right.
Mhm. And not to sound like a corporate overlord, but like, how can we harness their talents to really excel? Because I have found that many people in the neurodivergent community, if they, once they're given the proper support or pointed in the right direction, they're like your best person. So instead of really holding it against them that like, oh, you don't fit this mold, like let's use their talents in the way that is most effective, not only for the company, but then for them too, because they get to do like a really awesome job and be great at what they do and succeed.
Yeah. So on our ACA team, there's three neurodivergent individuals that I know of, and I think all three of them, there's been sort of some different accommodations made to help them be as successful as they can be, and it's all different for each one of them. One is identifying, like, getting them on track and, like, okay, helping them focus on what it is that they need to prioritize and focus. One is allowing them those times when they need to just be off work, or 2 hours or whatever a day. And another one is just helping them with client interaction, that that is really difficult for them. So helping them with that,
Mhm.
and letting them do more of the back end stuff. So each one's a little bit different, but yeah, I think definitely, and they're all really good workers. So
Mhm. Isn't it so funny? Like if I had someone to make all my phone calls for me, I feel like I'd be a lot more productive because I just hate picking up the phone and having a conversation.
yeah,
Well, I think that's why Liz and I work well together because I mean, I just said that about the phone calls, but like I don't mind talking to people, but I'm always like throwing my spreadsheet stuff to Liz and I'm like, hey, because she likes it and she's good at it. And it'll take me a year and a half, but it'll take her a half hour
yeah,
because she just like understands how it works and like knows the formulas. And like I like the spreadsheet. I like to see what it's telling me, but having to like work on it, I'm just like this, I'd rather just have a conversation with someone.
well, and I mean, and then that just goes, I mean, everybody's going to have their strengths and their things that they don't like and aren't as good at. And I think that's part of being a good leader, is identifying, where their strengths lie and capitalizing on those strengths.
Right. Whose talents are where. And then when you
Yeah,
pair them up with someone who is of opposite talents, then together they can really be gangbusters.
right.
Mhm. Did we have any other questions for Jeannie about busy versus productive? Or I'm sorry,
I don't
busy
think so.
versus what did we say, effective or impactful?
Yeah, however it works. We have just nice. Yeah, we had a. Oh, no, I think everybody wants to hear what the trained versus term is today.
Yep.
Okay. So our train versus term today is about substance abuse on the job. Jeannie, I was hoping you would stick around with us for
Sure,
this
sure.
segment. Perfect.
Happy to.
You can give us your opinion too.
Okay.
So this question comes from the co-owner of an animal hospital. It's from a veterinarian. They have a business partner who's also a veterinarian. For the last year, we have noticed that some medications were going missing from our pharmaceutical closet, but were always eventually replaced either a few days or weeks later. We believed that this was due to disorganization, but unfortunately discovered that our most valuable vet tech has been borrowing the meds and then replacing them. We set up cameras to keep an eye on our overnight patients. We didn't explicitly disclose the surveillance to our employees, but the cameras are mounted in clear view, and the installation took place over several days when we spoke about it openly. We're not sure if the vet tech was using the meds on herself or another human, or even making house calls, perhaps on animals she may encounter in her life. She has never demonstrated behavior conducive to substance abuse or even ever been suspected of it. When questioned, she just kept repeating, It'll never happen again, and I'm very sorry. We are in a rural area, and she is a vital staff member. We could not run the clinic without her. If we lost her, we would have to seriously reduce the service we provide, both in quality and quantity. This would put the health of our local animals at risk and negatively impact the fragile economic stability of our community. Replacing this employee may not be possible. As I stated, this is a rural area, and attracting a similarly qualified vet tech who is willing to make a life here is pretty unlikely. She's from the area, and we convinced her to come back after college. I additionally worry about the effect this may have on her, as I'm afraid she'd have to uproot her entire life to find another job. My partner and I don't know what to do next.
All right, Jeanie.
And they already talked to her and she just said, sorry, it will never happen again. She
That's
didn't
all
give
she-
an explanation.
Yeah, no.
Well, I think she needs to give him an explanation.
What do you guys think? I mean, ideally, she would give an
I'm
explanation, but if she's stonewalling them on, it'll never happen again.
well, they don't know if well, they know she took the drugs. She don't know what she did with them. She's selling them on the side because she's not making any money. Does
But
she have a
she's
sick
replacing
animal?
them.
And hey, how do you replace them? I'm
That's my
thinking,
question is how is she replacing them? But
so
either
I
way,
know, yeah. Ugh. Oh.
I'm gonna say it, theft is theft. I'm terminating. But in
Yeah, well,
reality, the recruiting, I see where it's an operations issue because this employee is kind of holding them hostage because of the talent. But that's when you have to expand your mind when it comes to recruiting and recruit outside, pay relocation, and try to find somebody else maybe in a larger range of a larger distance from where you're located. Go outside of your area, but still, theft is theft. If she's stealing, even if she's replacing them, regardless of her reason, regardless what she's doing with them, you, that's a huge, huge trust issue.
Just an FYI to Jeanie, Liz almost always terminates. It's very rare that Liz agrees to let the person stay.
Good to know.
Yeah, I have an opinion. I'm gonna go train, and it's probably because I'm a bleeding heart, but I'm concerned about the animals. And I feel like if they really do have to reduce operations to the point where it may affect the animals' health in their local area, and then also it sounds to me like it's probably like a farming community, and this hospital is helping with like larger animals, in addition to probably like pets. So I also am going to say train, and just with the understanding that if it happens again, that's it. We're done here.
Okay, I'll go next. I want more information, but I'm with you too. Just all the scenario where they state we can't run our clinic without her. Like, well, now you're putting yourself in a bad position for one. You probably could run the clinic without her for a while, but yeah, I took it as a large animal clinic somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I'm not going to use Nebraska. We used Nebraska last year or last call.
Oklahoma this time.
Oklahoma.
No,
Yeah,
it's
same
not. It's
difference.
not. I just said Oklahoma because I'm sure that they they didn't give a
Um,
state.
yeah, I'm definitely a train. I would like to know a reason, a valid reason to see, if like you're dealing to the local high school kids, maybe you need to get rid of them at that point.
Mm.
Um, if it's a different scenario, train would then put with a final warning.
Yeah, train with final warning. I think that's
Yeah, I
all.
think that's what you said as well. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
like, okay. And they know they're on camera and they're still doing it. Maybe they're looking to get caught. Maybe they're looking to get caught and get fired. I don't know. There's so many variables. We need to chat with this person and have it. Hey,
Jeannie, did you
Jeanie.
So
think?
I'm with Dean. I'd want more information. Yeah, understand. And there were depending on the information, there may be a situation where you say, sorry, you're gone. But I'm also more inclined to, in probably with most of the reasons I'm thinking in my head, that to let her stay with the understanding that with a warning and understanding theft is theft, and one more time and you're out. Doesn't matter.
Even if it compromises the business and the
Yeah.
local.
But
Well,
I
they can
think
start
really
making a plan.
getting some more information is, yeah.
Mhm.
And if she's not willing to give more information, then I'm gonna go with Liz and say, yeah, just term.
And the interesting piece is she returned the drugs, depending on what type of drugs they are.
Mhm.
How do you return if it's some, a large pain pill? How do you return that? I can see getting ibuprofen or anything
Right. And
else, but
is it packaged still? I mean, there's still a lot of questions, I
Mhm.
think.
They're on the border of Texas and they're running across the border to Mexico to get the drugs and bring them back to replace.
Yeah.
So that might change Liz's thought if it's in Texas.
We got talent here. But so that's going to be actually, I'm thinking, and I'm not necessarily taking back, I'm maybe slowing down. So what if instead of rushing to do either, we put the feelers out to see what there is in the recruiting? I mean, we're just assuming there's nobody in the area to easily
Mhm.
take the place.
Mhm.
Why don't we post a confidential posting and expand the region, offer to pay relocation and see if we could find other talent. And, it's kind of slimy. I'm not a fan of confidential postings, but that would solve a lot of their problems if they put feelers out and found out, can we replace this person in a reasonable amount of time? And if so, do that and have it coincide with the termination.
I mean, that also like what that just occurred to me. They have no succession plan. What if, what
Mhm.
if she vacations in Mexico and, meets somebody out there and you never see her again? She wants to live in Mexico with her new husband and
Because
go sell
I mean,
drugs there.
this employee is brazen if they are knowing that there's cameras up and they're still taking it.
Right.
So I don't necessarily trust that she's going to stop just because of a final warning. So I'm not walking back the term, but I'm thinking maybe we recruit while we're aiming to term because she's going to do it again.
And they need some kind of succession plan
And
because
even if you recruit,
it's
I
a
don't
lot.
know if I'd even put a confidential warning if you're going to term. I know she might leave if is she looking? Why would she even look for this job listing? Mind you, I don't like confidential
Yeah, I'm not a
spots on.
fan of it, but yeah, I'll
Well,
do it in certain
because you run the
situations.
if you're open with her even by telling a little white lie by saying we're expanding and we're looking,
Oh.
you do run the risk of her then quitting to be like, no, this is replacing my job. It has nothing, you're not just, looking because we have more work.
Well, she should know she's on thin ice anyway.
She should. But again, I think it goes back to you've got to have a really, in-depth conversation about a lot of this stuff. And you could, and I don't know, you could even say, we're going to put a posting out because we don't know how this is going to go. Like, just be honest. Like, anybody
Mhm.
in their right mind knows that stealing is wrong.
Hmm.
Right. Which is why she was sneaking it back in the middle of the night. They put the overnight
So,
cameras, so I had
yeah,
assumed.
so if they're keeping her, that's actually would be like a favor to her.
Mhm.
So if they do things like see who else is out there, that's okay. Like,
Right.
who cares?
Mhm.
Mhm. The oddest part is she returned items. They're like, okay, that's so odd to me. Why?
Yeah,
Taking them in
but
would be
How?
again, I
weird.
still have more questions about that. Like, are they
Uh-huh.
really the real thing? Are they
Yeah,
in the
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
manufacturer? And then if they're in the manufacturer bottle, where is she getting that from? Like,
Hmm.
there's just so
Mhm.
many questions with
Lots
Yeah.
this
of
one.
questions. I was
And
thinking
none
the
of
same
it.
thing, like teenagers when they, take their parents' vodka and then replace it with water. Like,
Yeah,
are you harming the animals by not giving
right,
them the
right.
medication they
Exactly.
need?
And if that's the case, then yeah, yeah,
Out. I'm
Yeah.
a dog person. You're out if that's the case.
yeah.
Now maybe I'm gonna say, all right, now I have to change my answer. I can't do train with final warning unless
Well,
we
I
can.
just, again, I think a really in-depth conversation needs to be had. And if they're not willing to do that, then I think you move towards the term.
Mhm. Mhm. That was a good
Agreed.
one. So we had, you know, need more information, maybe train, probably terminate.
It'll probably end in determination, yeah.
Okay, and now the lightning round. Holly, are you ready?
I guess. I'm
Please try to
scared.
answer in 3 words or less.
Okay.
Okay. How do you take your coffee?
Cream stevia.
Okay. Music or silence while working?
Silence.
Silence. And then vacation, beach or mountains?
Beach.
Good answers. I've never asked Dean and Liz, do you guys want to participate or should we save it for another time?
Either way.
Either way, I just listened to that because everything that Jeannie said, I'm like, okay, I'm opposite. I'm opposite. I like the beach. Okay.
Do you say beach only because you live in the mountains? And I vacation more at the beach only because we have beach. We don't really have a lot of mountains to vacation. I don't even know what a
Well,
mountain vacation is really.
I have just always loved the beach.
Mhm.
That's always been my my place.
Should come to Jersey. We have the most beautiful
I
ones.
would love to come to Jersey.
I don't know.
I'm
There's
going
a
to
few
go to
places.
Florida in April.
Nice. They have good beaches
Nice.
too. Not as good as ours, but they're still all right.
Oof, I don't know.
Well,
I
if
don't
you've
know.
seen
And
the
we
Texas
we
beaches, you're choosing mountains. Just saying.
I've heard that. I've heard Galveston, like because of all the way the waves are, like pushes all of the pollution to Galveston. That's what I've heard.
So I've typically gone to, since I'm from South Texas and I just happen to live in North Texas now, I've typically gone to Port Aransas, and it's supposed to be one of the more alluring beaches here, but it's petroleum smell and seaweed and
Petroleum, really?
yeah, because in the Gulf of Mexico there's a lot of oil rigs, and so we get the leftovers. And even when I went to Galveston, I liked Galveston, but still it was the same experience. So mountains every time. I'll go to the mountains.
Interesting. Can you send pictures? I
interesting.
want to see picture.
The water is like this green brown color.
Hmm. We have green brown water.
Oh gosh.
But I think once I went to the Monterey, when I lived in Monterey, California, I went to their beach, the Carmel area, and their beaches were like blue, crisp water, nice white sand. So it was like a whole new experience, but still, I'm going with mountains.
I want to go back to the Caribbean. We haven't been in a really long time. It's a quick flight from here, and the water, there's nothing like the water in the Caribbean. So I definitely want to
I
soon
agree.
do that. It's nice and warm. It's freezing here. What is it now? Wait, we warmed up a little bit. It's 21 today.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's been so cold. It's ridiculous.
I
Well,
get
thank
tired of the
you.
cold.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeannie, so much. It was so nice to have you
Thanks.
guesting on the pod. We
Well, thank you. You guys are so fun.
Yes, thank you for coming back and talking to us again.
So I definitely have opinions about things.
Good.
Remember, we are HR Service Unscripted, right? We're on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Give us a thumbs up and a subscribe.